What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to Man to Man Football. Today, we're going to be banging out the AFC South, so let's jump right into it.
Let's jump into the Houston Texans, man. The obvious thing for the Texans this year is the trading away of DeAndre Hopkins, one of the best wide receivers in the game. So let's talk about that trade real quick. They did trade for David Johnson from the Cardinals. Then they used one of the picks they got to also acquire Brandon Cooks. Have a little bit of a hot take for you here. If the Houston Texans can stay healthy, you got Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, and David Johnson all on the field at the same time. This team will be equally as explosive as the Chiefs and will have a better run game with David Johnson.
Actually, completely disagree. I don't
Disagree? Go
really,
ahead.
yeah, I really don't like this receiving core. Will Fuller can't stay on the field. He's constantly hurt. Brandon Cooks also has the same problem, constantly hurt, constant concussions. Um, if they can stay healthy, I think they could be explosive. I don't think anybody can touch the Chiefs, but especially explosiveness wise. But they could be Chiefs-esque if they stay healthy. But that's the biggest problem for this team in the wide receiver
Yeah,
position.
they got to stay healthy.
Will Fuller has to stay healthy. You know, he was phenomenal on the field for Houston. Brandon Cooks, phenomenal receiver with the Rams, but just can't stay healthy
Has
for the past
concussion
couple
problems
years.
for sure.
Yeah, you know, I think it really hurt. I can't understand the DeAndre Hopkins trade. The guy was the number one receiver. I believe number one receiver in the NFL, if not close to one or two, maybe. But Deshaun Watson actually has stats proving that most of his throws throughout his career have been to DeAndre Hopkins,
Sure.
and just all of a sudden out of the blue, just getting rid of him and trading him, and personally for almost nothing for what he's worth. Stephon Diggs went for a first round. I can't believe that he didn't even go for a first round.
That's true.
I think that was kind of ridiculous for Houston, but we'll see what they can do with that. But I think this really depends on if they can stay healthy. They're riding hard on that line of
They got to stay
these
healthy.
guys have to stay healthy, and
Yeah.
football is a physical game, so I'm not sure that's possible.
Yeah. I think what you have here, you have a DeAndre Hopkins, obviously talented, but not a very explosive deep threat type of guy. Where now you have three of them in Houston. You have Will Fuller, who's a deep threat. Obviously, he takes the top off every defense. Brandon Cooks,
Yep.
can do the same thing. Kenny Stills can do the same thing. So what you have now is, think about it as a bit of a, college spread attack. They're vertical. They're down the field. The defense will have to respect the speed of all three of these guys, which will open up lanes for DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson. I'm sorry, will open up lanes for David Johnson and Deshaun
Okay.
Watson running the football. I think this
So what do
team,
you what do you think about Kiki Kuti hopping into that third slot as wide
so
receiver?
I think I
He
think
exploded onto the scene last year as a young guy, and
there's an important note to make there for sure because you can call him third, you call him fourth or fifth because they added Randall Cobb too, right? So wherever you
yep,
put these guys on the depth chart, no other team in the league has five as talented wide receivers. Kiki QT in the time that he did play last year was plenty productive. Randall Cobb's the old vet coming from Dallas. He can be productive. And so if one of these guys, if Will Fuller gets dinged up or whatever, I mean this wide receiver core is deep. They
and I think they
fixed.
did address a big problem on the offensive line, getting
That's
Laramie
just about to
Tunsil.
get
But
to for sure.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you hit it. They traded for Laramie Tunsil last year. It seemed to shore up everything. Deshaun Watson early in his career was getting hit left and right. And one addition, one elite guy on the left tackle spot, and all of a sudden he's upright and throwing dimes from the pocket. So that's only going to continue to get better for them. I think their offense is going to be extremely explosive. You're talking about they're going to be racing everybody on the scoreboard. And there isn't much to say about their defense. You're looking at J.J. Watt. All he's got to do is make a couple plays a game, and I think the Texans are going to win a lot of games because of how explosive they're going to be on offense. They're going to move up and down the field with ease.
Old man still got the juice, and we know that he's definitely proven that coming out of last year. He still keeps getting banged up, but I mean that's part of football. You gotta fight and keep pushing. Yeah, I agree with you. This defense is not much has changed. It'll definitely be as where they were last year. But I think their biggest question is if those receivers could stay healthy. But
Their offensive stars have to stay healthy. And coaching
yeah,
staff, this is a Bill O'Brien made the decision to bring in a new offense coordinator. And that's big for Deshaun Watson's development too. Last year, Bill O'Brien was the offense coordinator, the head coach, and the GM, and so
yeah,
he was doing way too much. Now Deshaun Watson, this has been talked about on the radio a bunch. Now Deshaun Watson has a guy. He can come off the field. He can sit and talk to his offense coordinator. Go over what's happening. Go over the game plan, how it's changing. What they need to do when they go on the field next time. He's got that guy that's going to consistently help him develop. Not only in between games but during the game. He'll be there on the sideline for him to support him. So, Deshaun Watson's looking up and up as far as his career and his trajectory going forward.
I agree, man. All right, let's move it on to the Colts, man. The Indianapolis Colts. Biggest move over the offseason, I think, is trading for DeForest Buckner. They gave a first round, 13th overall pick for DeForest Buckner. That's quite a bit for a D tackle,
It is.
but I think it's going to be pretty worth it for this team. They picked up, obviously, Philip Rivers, which is also another one of the biggest offseason pickups for them. This team is going to look, I think, drastically different than they were last year. I think they're going to make a big leap. I think T.Y. Hilton is still T.Y. Hilton. He's still going to do what he does and gets open. And I think the receiver position is going to have actually a quarterback battle, a wide receiver battle for the number two position there.
Okay.
Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell. I think they're going to they may go 50-50 for a while and try to battle out, see who's got the edge and who meshes well with Philip Rivers. But this offense is going to change, especially with the drafting of Jonathan Taylor at the running back position for them. Marlon Mack is a great running back, but I think Jonathan Taylor is going to take over and become a explosive running back. Marlon Mack was more of he's kind of more of a downhill guy, 3, 4, 5 yards. He can bust some big runs, no doubt. But I think Jonathan Taylor's got that, that
He's your
little.
workhorse back. He's a home run
Yeah, he's
hitter. He
got
can
that.
do it all.
Yeah, he's a home run hitter. He's got that home run speed. Marlon Mack unfortunately doesn't. He did a phenomenal job running the ball last year for the Colts, and they leaned on him a lot. I think Jonathan Taylor will help lighten the load, and they'll look pretty good. You've got the best left guard in the game to run behind. So as long as they can keep moving him around and pulling him, and as long as they can block behind Quentin Nelson, they'll continue to be a run first team, which will help Philip Rivers a lot, which will help these young receivers a lot, and thus produce on offense. Um, this offense, this defense, it now has a lot more help on offense. They'll stay off the field more, I believe. Um, Justin Houston, DeForest Buckner, kind of the main staples in this D line. I think they're going to be great up front. Their back end is going to be fairly good with Xavier Rhodes at the corner position and Malik Hooker at the back end. This defense is going to look pretty good.
Awesome.
Um, I'm not. I don't really know what else to say other than I think they're going to be a very good defense, and the Colts are going to be a hard team to beat next year. I think they're going to completely turn around from what was it? I think they're going to completely bounce back from a 7-9 season. I think they're better than that this year. I think they're going to be way more explosive on offense, and then they're going to be a lot more dangerous on the defensive end. So
Okay.
this team's going to be pretty good.
Curious to see what Xavier Rhodes is bringing. I know people kind of questioned his production the last couple years in Minnesota, and then
Yep.
obviously they let him go. So this was a guy who was one of the better corners in the game, 3 or 4 years ago. So we'll see what he has left in his career. Maybe a change was good for him.
Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna say sometimes you see a lot of guys they start to like fizzle out in their old teams and
for
they
sure,
start to be kind of lost and forgotten, and then
for sure.
all of a sudden a new place, new people, new coaches, they're out to impress and
Yeah.
return to form and it's easy. So
I feel like
I
this
think
defense
it'll.
has elite players at every level. You bring in DeForest Buckner, you have Leonard Darius at linebacker. You have Malik Hooker, Xavier Rhodes. I mean, they have elite guys at every level here. They're like you said, they're gonna be a good defense, gonna be a good unit, and a team that should win a lot of games next year for sure.
I would like to add that, if for some, for some reason Philip Rivers goes down, they know they've got a decent backup. Hopefully Philip Rivers can make it through a majority of the season, but Jacoby Brissett got to play
A lot.
100% of last
Yeah,
year.
a lot.
So, he's got the experience now. He did okay, 7-9, which isn't too bad.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not great, but it's better than 3-12, or
for sure, for sure.
three and whatever. So, I do wonder how Jacob Eason is going to do sitting behind these guys, and if they're trying to hopefully progress him enough to start next year. Because Philip Rivers, I believe, is on a 1 year, 2 year contract.
Hmm.
I think it's a 1 year contract. Um, so I'm wondering if they're going to be trying to phase out and let Jacob Eason learn this year, and then hopefully just plug and play next year and
We'll see. We'll
see what
see.
he can do.
He
But
was a
this
long-time
team is
starter at
definitely interesting.
Washington, and he's got a huge arm, cannon arm. Jacob Eason played for a long time at Washington, so definitely an experienced rookie coming in. And then yeah, 1 year sitting, and we'll see what they do next year for sure.
This team.
All right, man. Let's talk about Tennessee. The biggest question for Tennessee is going to be, will the Tannehill magic continue? When Tannehill took over for Marcus Mariota, this team was on a record pace for yards per play at one point. They got into the playoffs, and then it was like they stopped throwing the football. And I don't know if that was
Yeah.
a game plan thing, if that was just a feed Derrick Henry and play good defense thing. I'm not sure what happened there. And so, the biggest question going into the next year and for the next 4 years, because that's the contract they signed him to, is, can the Tannehill magic continue? If it does, I think they're in a great spot here because they have a quarterback that's making 29 million a year. Okay, and I think that is at a huge discount, especially as this quarterback market continues to rise. If he is a capable quarterback that can continue to lead them to the playoffs, they can continue to run the football, continue to play good defense. They have a winning formula here. It's really just going to be all on him. The biggest loss for the Titans this offseason was Jack Conklin, their right tackle. He's a really good football player. They did draft Isaiah Wilson in the first round this year out of Georgia. Good football player, rookie. We'll see what he does when he comes in. Mike Vrabel has decided this season to go without a defense coordinator. This is one of the first times I think we've seen this. Bill O'Brien did this last year on offense. He now has an offensive coordinator. So now, Mike Vrabel is going to try to do the same thing, but with the defense. Mike Vrabel is a defensive guy, so maybe he'll call the plays on defense. Not sure just yet. He's calling it a group effort for sure. So they're gonna, just work together on building game plans, calling the plays during the game, things like that. And then Derrick Henry, man, is he a workhorse? Can he, be a guy who does it all season? Are they gonna rely on him a bunch this season? Is his body gonna stay together, for the postseason play?
I actually think Derrick Henry's betting on himself. He signed that franchise tag. He's playing on that franchise tag this year. So I think he's betting on himself, thinking, whether these guys sign me or not, I'm going to get paid. Which I don't mind. I don't mind doing that rather than playing the Le'Veon Bell card and just sitting out seasons. And I like that, man. The guy likes football. He's proven that. I think he can, continue to produce for this Tennessee offense. I actually wanted to ask you about Delaney Walker. They lost him this offseason because of a failed physical. Um, what did you think about that? Did you think that was a big loss for them?
I think it will be. That guy's been there for a long time. He's been really productive too. He's getting old, so I'm not sure,
Yeah,
necessarily. I'm sure they've brought in some guys to, replace him. It looks like they do have a rookie tight end, Tommy Hudson. Yeah, I mean Delaney Walker's been there for a long time. He's been doing it big for a long time. One of the most athletic tight ends in the game. So he'll be missed for sure. But that guy was getting up there in age, and so I'm sure they've had to have a plan for, what they're gonna do post Delaney Walker.
yeah. I think they kind of got surprised by that in March when he failed that physical, and they were like, okay, you know what? We need to address this and figure out what we're gonna do. And I believe they drafted that what's his name? Or I think he was an undrafted free agent, Tommy Hudson. But they've got a couple guys placed in front of him on the depth chart. I'm interested to see what they'll do. Um, I like the receivers, AJ Brown. I really hope Corey Davis can do something. He's been lackluster, but um, hopefully these guys can pick it up. Ryan Tannehill has shown he can produce with whatever he's got as long as he can keep, like you said, that magic rolling. Um, I think this team is gonna be about what they looked like last year, and I think Derrick Henry's gonna come out
Pounding
probably
away.
pushing. Yeah, he's gonna be playing really really tough, really hard ball like he does. The dude's a freight train.
Sure.
So if you get him moving forward, he's gonna gain 3. He's massive, and I think he's like the only running back in the league to have like 2 99-yard runs. So he's got the speed too. So
I'm still seeing those highlights all the time for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hopefully this defense continues to progress, man. They looked really good in the playoffs last year, right up to the point where they faced Pat Mahomes. And there's not many defenses do look good when they play the Chiefs.
nope.
So without a defensive coordinator, I'm really curious to see what this unit's gonna do. They've got plenty of talent. They're well coached. This could be one of those elite defenses for sure.
I like it, man. I like this defense. They're gonna produce again, just as they did last year. Um, they've just got to see if they can stand the test of time and see if they can, get Patrick Mahomes to struggle again.
There you go.
Um, it's hard to do that and keep him struggling for 4 quarters because they've shown if you can't keep him struggling for
Yeah,
4 quarters, he'll make the comeback if you allow it.
for sure.
So, all right, man, let's move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. As you know, Dylan, I love this team, but the biggest thing I think happened to this team is they built super quick the past couple of years. They built quickly past 2 years. This defense was looking as a I believe a number 1 defense in the NFL. They had talent everywhere. They had Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell running the front. These guys looked amazing everywhere. And then all of a sudden, they fell apart on defense just as quickly as they built.
That's true.
I think that's hurt them a lot. They traded away Calais Campbell, lost Jason. They traded away Jalen Ramsey because Jalen Ramsey, the rumor was he wasn't happy. So ended up getting out of there, going to the Rams. But this defense had a lot of big changes. I just don't know if they can recover. I don't know if a team can be successful when you constantly have big names leaving. It kind of shows there's a problem somewhere. I don't know if it's in the coaching staff with Doug Maroon. I do believe they have a new offense coordinator, Jay Gruden. But man, it's hard to overcome big changes like that. And this team is going to kind of. I hope this team can overcome and produce on defense, but that's tough. They still do have Miles Jack. I think Yannick Ngakoue is also a very good defensive front guy. Josh Allen,
He's a high draft
obviously,
pick
yeah,
last year for
yeah,
sure.
he's going to be if he can progress and become a great pass rusher. This front 4 will be good, and they will get pressure on quarterbacks. But I just don't know because Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell, I think was a leader. Unless they expect one of these younger guys to step up, they could struggle up front. Pass rush wise is a different story than pass. Get putting your hand in the dirt and getting after the quarterback's a whole different story than playing the run. You've got to have a leader up front, kind of telling these guys what to do, and I think they lost that with Calais Campbell. Big draft guy, Clavion Chaseon, was actually projected to be a Dallas Cowboy. You hated me saying his name all the time during draft
It's
time,
true.
but got drafted by the Jags, my tiny little crush team in the AFC. We'll see how well he does. I'm interested to see. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't like super excited about him coming out of the draft, but he's definitely explosive. So I'm interested to see if they can bring him on a lot of blitz and a lot of stunts, especially as a young guy, and see if he can produce. But we've got C.J. Henderson on the outside as a new corner. DJ Hayden as well out there, but I'm interested to see what this defense looks like next year with all
Yeah.
the changes.
Let me ask you about Minshew Mania, man. How's Gardner Minshew gonna look next year? What's he gonna bring?
I actually think this offense rides solely on him. This
Okay.
offense is going to be completely and utterly production-wise based off of him. If he can continue the Minshew mania and become the star he was shown he could be,
Right.
this offense is going to produce and be probably drastically better than they were last year.
Okay.
They were 6-10 last year. I'm not sure how much better you can get. They've got a pretty tough division, I think, with the Titans and the Texans and the Colts with Phillip Rivers. So they're gonna, they've got a really competitive division this year. So it's gonna be kind of it's kind of a we'll see. Youth versus old guy Phillip
Sure.
Rivers is gonna be it's gonna be interesting.
Sure.
So, but if he can continue to produce, I think this offense is set up well. DJ Chark, I love him. D.D. Westbrook, love him. Chris Conley, great
Young,
receiver.
explosive wide receivers for
Young,
sure.
explosive, and they had a lot of one-handed catches. A lot of, they've shown they can grab the ball wherever it's placed at. Um, Minshew has shown he has the mobility to be an elite quarterback, truly an elite
Yeah.
quarterback, but he's just got to progress. Tyler Eifert, I really like him. Their running back, Leonard Fournette, another train in this division,
Yeah. For
another
sure.
massive train. I'm interested to see if these guys want to bet on him long term. I'm not sure if they signed him or not. I'll have to check on that. But I do know that they lost quite a bit on this defense. I forgot to tell we this team also lost AJ Boye. Um, so that will hurt them a lot.
For sure.
But this offense, I think, solely rides on Gardner Minshew. I think the defense is kind of another question mark for how much they lost. But I love the offense, but it all rides on Gardner Minshew for me.
Yeah, when I'm looking at early, mock drafts for next year, and I'm seeing the Jaguars really, really high, like number one overall pick in some mock drafts, and I don't see it when I look at this team. I mean,
Yeah,
they went 6-10 last year. I mean, I'm not saying they're a playoff team or anything like that, but this is much better than, an 0-16 or a 2-14 type of team. I would be really surprised if they were that bad.
yeah, I would be as well.
Awesome,
I
man. Well,
think
hey,
that
at the end of the day, man, who wins this whole division? Who's your number one?
so. I believe the Colts
The
will make
Colts.
a giant leap
There you
with
go.
Philip Rivers at the helm,
Okay.
with all the pieces they have, and they're going to actually take this number one spot. They're going to rip it from the Titans and force Derrick Henry to basically sit in the backfield to look pretty because they're going to be behind in a couple
Oh
games.
wow. Okay. Okay. Um, man, I gotta think the Texans are gonna be too explosive on offense, man.
Ooh,
If this
okay.
team can stay healthy, I mean that's kind of the big question, right? If this team gets dinged up, who knows? But man, if they're all healthy, they're gonna be flying up and down the field on offense, and I think this team is just too talented not to be the number one projected. I see what you're saying with the Colts. I do. I think the Titans will play good enough defense. That's a tough one, man. It really is.
Yeah, I do believe Philip Rivers, with the experience he has in this NFL, is going to be good enough to pick apart this
Okay.
Titans defense.
Okay.
Uh, Jaguars again, new guys everywhere,
Yeah,
new
that's
starters
true.
everywhere.
That's true.
So I think they're gonna kind of. I mean, they may not struggle. Maybe they'll struggle early, but maybe that could be the end of them right there in this division. This division is tough. So the Colts, I think, take it with Philip Rivers at the helm. I actually think the Titans lock at number two.
Number two,
Derek,
man.
yeah, Titans bringing in number two, and I think the Texans fall to three for me. I
Okay.
don't, I don't have faith in that receiving core staying healthy. You've
Okay.
got two
Okay.
guys that are your one and two
And that's
that
fair.
just
Yeah.
have shown they can't stay on the
That's
field,
fair for sure.
and
For sure.
that's a tough thing to deal with. Not only not mentally, not only mentally for those guys, but mentally for those teammates. Because, like, let's say they do come out strong and they do come out hot and they are explosive and they look dangerous, and all of a sudden, boom, you lose that big guy, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh no, what are we
Yeah.
gonna do? It brings everybody down.
This is true.
And then what if all of a sudden, the next guy goes down, and you're like, oh God, what are we doing now? Like,
Yeah.
that's gonna completely deflate this
It's
team. If
demoralizing
you
for
know, I,
sure.
I I hope that does not happen to the Texans. I hope they're as good as you say they will be, but I don't have faith in that,
Okay.
man. You got
No,
two
that's
guys
fair.
that just have
That's fair.
proven they can't stay healthy.
I think I'm gonna go in the same order they finished last season. I think I'm going Texans, Titans, Colts, and Jaguars. Like I
Okay.
said, I don't think the Jaguars will be as bad as everybody says they are, but I think they are the fourth place team. And then
Yeah.
I think the Titans, man, I think they're gonna play good defense, and I think that's what's gonna be the difference between, second and third right there. I think that'll be a good competition. The top three in this division are all really good, but I have the Titans second and the Colts third.
I mean, I obviously that puts Jags at fourth for me. There's too many changes everywhere. Got a really young guy at the quarterback helm who's started hot and then fell apart. So we'll see. I love the Jags. I wish them the best. I love all. I actually really like all the teams in this division. I think they're going to be very competitive.
Hmm.
But the the problem for me with the Jags is there's so many different things happening for them, and that's tough to come by as a player. But I really think the Colts take this one. Titans take that number two spot with the run game and that solid defense. I think if the Texans can stay healthy, they can produce and take that one spot. But for
Sure.
me, I just don't know if it's possible. I'm going to put them at three.
Okay, and that's fair for sure.
I think that about wraps it up, man, for the AFC South. Guys, thank you guys for watching Man to Man Football. Like, subscribe, comment down below. We're going to be putting the AFC and the NFC podcasts probably on Apple or Google Play. Thank you guys again, man. Dylan, you got anything else?
Now, yeah, thank you for anybody who's watching, especially if you stayed this far in the video. So, any comments, any critiques, we love it all.
Appreciate it, guys.